All right, let's talk about the good and the bad from tonight. So, again, much like game one, I'm going to dissect it a bit before I get into my notes. But my notes are extensive. Did I get there? All right. Now, the good news. Pettersson had a great game. Frustrated the Wild greatly. Quinn Hughes came into his own tonight. Quinn Hughes absolutely, I don't know how many minutes he played, but it felt like every minute he was on the ice. Brock Besser had a great game. Jake Virtanen gets into the lineup and proves my faith in him is not misguided. He didn't look overweight. He didn't look slow. He didn't look gassed in between shifts. He was joking around on the bench. He seemed to be fine. Now, the Canucks definitely seemed to be a lot better tonight. This was the kind of structure I like to see in their game. It was wide open but defensively sound for the most part. And Markstrom played pretty darn well as well. I thought the Canucks did a good job of forcing the play during the first two periods. I thought they did a good job in figuring out how to get some pucks past Alex Stalock. And in general, they showed they can win a game for the first time in a postseason environment since 2015. Now, on the bright side as well, I thought Louis Eriksson played well enough. There were some unintentionally humorous moments, which there usually are when Louis Eriksson plays. But I've been trying to think of a food substance that's neither good nor bad. So when you have it, you're like, yeah, it's good. And when it's not in your food, you go, eh. And to me, Louis Eriksson's kind of like that, where really, in all honesty, I don't think he costs the Canucks anything when he's in the lineup. He may not do anything in game that you say, wow, am I ever glad Louis was in the lineup? But for whatever reason, he doesn't cost them anything. So him being in the lineup was a good thing. Now, the Canucks came out of this game minus at least one forward, and I would not be surprised to see him not back in the next game. They ended up being short two forwards by the end of this game. Minnesota was short a forward as well by the end of this game, and we'll see how ugly things get from here. Because on the downside was the Canucks' third period. They did not protect the lead well. I didn't like how often they were icing the puck when it was clear Minnesota was picking up momentum. And we need to have a discussion about Tyler Myers. So when Tyler Myers was signed last summer, I defended it. I said, yep, this is fine. He's a veteran. It's $6 million a year. The cap should go up. Whoops, pandemic. It's not going up. And so I felt like it was going to be fine. I felt like it wouldn't be such a big deal. 5 years does sound like a ton, but, you know, you've got to spend the money. And then the Canucks this year are in a playoff position. At least they're in a play-in position. So you can say that this team's made some steps in the right direction. But Myers tonight was brutal. I can't defend Tyler Myers. And I thought Stetcher had a little bit of... There was enough good with Stetcher's game that I can't really get too mad about the other stuff, but boy howdy. The Canucks have to be more disciplined, and as much emotion as we're seeing in this series, they need to ratchet it down just a little bit. Because I think that favors Minnesota. I do. I think if you get into the muck, I think it favors Minnesota. I think if Vancouver wants to win this series, they have to keep it down to, say, 3 power plays on each side. Canucks had their chances with power plays, but their special teams ended up being nullified anyways. So, overall, pretty good game. The scratches tonight to Foley, who apparently has an injury, and Gaudette, who was out of the lineup, which meant Eriksson and Virtanen get into the lineup. Eriksson was going in for Gaudette, and apparently with Toffoli being out, that gave Virtanen the opening to get in. Now, next game, I expect Gaudette to be back in there, and if 2 players are out, we'll see who the other player is that goes in, and we'll see if Myers recovers from what was not his greatest game. Just not his greatest overall. So Eriksson was on line 1, meaning the opening night, or the opening lineup, which might have made me say something. Just because I wasn't aware beforehand that he was in the lineup. Remember, I'm watching wall-to-wall hockey now. So I don't even get into the pregame lineups. I don't get into any of that. I don't have time. I'm watching just game after game after game after game. So when I saw Eriksson, I was like, what? He's on line 1. Who came out? Who came out for Eriksson? And then it was the Horvat-Pearson line. I was like, all right. And, of course, then it dawns on me that Toffoli's out. So, makes sense. He goes into Toffoli's spot. Pearson scores from Horvat 24 seconds in. So, this is where that happens. Where you can't look at this goal and go, well, Eriksson made it happen. But he gets the plus for it. He's there. He doesn't hurt you. I don't know what to say. Besser then gets a hooking penalty, and the Wild get the early power play. But the Canucks penalty kill tonight showed up. This is the penalty kill that we like for Vancouver, that has had good runs for Vancouver. The power play wasn't quite there, but hey, penalty kill was. So, the Wild buzzed around 3.5 minutes. I thought the defense for the Canucks was kind of sloppy at that stage. And then penalty to Stetcher, and that's the Wild's second power play in the first 5 minutes. So, this is where I'm nervous. Like, okay, they're up 1-0, but they've already taken two penalties. The defense seems to be kind of all over the place. Again, Quinn Hughes really stood out tonight, whether he was just that awesome, which I think he was, or maybe the rest of the blue line was maybe a little bit of a step behind. I can't say that with Tanev. I can't say with straight face. Tanev had a good game. Penalty to Stetcher was killed off. Greenway then takes a penalty, undisciplined penalty, and the Canucks go to the power play. So, Stalock denied Besser on the penalty kill. The shots were 8-4 for the Wild at the half, and it felt like the momentum was definitely shifting in their favor, but it would shift back. Myers then had a giveaway that nearly cost the team. That had me going, oh crap. So it's one of those things where when he's on the point and he coughs up the puck, he is way behind. This is something I've noticed with Erik Karlsson. I've called him out. I can't not call out Myers, right? So once he gets checked off that puck, whoever checked him off that puck is gone, and Myers is trying to play catch-up, and he's probably not going to make it. So then there's a delay of game penalty to the Wild. The Canucks go to a power play. Solid penalty kill by the Wild, but then they take another penalty. And it's Greenway again. So if you're a fan of the Wild, you may not be all that happy with Greenway tonight. Cunnin would score shorthanded from Parisi and Suter at 17-16, which caused me to throw my arms in the air and say, of course. Because we heard after game one, well, the referees and, Vancouver had power plays. Well, here they are with a power play, and they allow shorthanded goals. So careful what you wish for sometimes, right? But they mentioned as well that Soucy was having a really good game. And he was. Soucy defensively played really, really well in that first period. That kid is a keeper. Very solid defenseman. So second period, tie game. Stetcher takes a penalty in the first minute, because of course. But both penalty kills were doing well. So I wasn't, freaking out, yelling at the TV over the penalty kills. I was just kind of mumbling to myself, be nice if they'd stop. JT Miller then gets a goal at 3:01. And it was a filthy goal. And he used Pettersson as the decoy. So if you're Stalock, you're like, okay, Pettersson's here, Miller's here. Where's he going? And he comes across just absolutely beautiful goal. That's his 4th goal in his 63rd postseason game? Really? Like, I know JT Miller played for Tampa, and he wasn't a prime scorer. But when I heard that, I had to go look it up. Because Cuthbert says that's his fourth playoff goal in 63 games, and I thought, it is not. That's got to be wrong. He's got to be looking at Myers, or he's looking at somebody else. That can't be right. And yeah, JT Miller doesn't score goals in the playoffs. He will for Vancouver. If Vancouver goes that far, he'll have a lot more than 4 by the time he's done. The Canucks were definitely harassing Fiala a lot. So Pettersson was harassed a ton in game 1. He was in this one as well, but he was fighting back too. And we'll get to that later on. But Fiala was definitely being bothered a lot. And again, how you feel about that may depend on which team you're cheering for. I saw that and I went, all right, it's fair play because of what's been going on with Pettersson. We'll see how this turns out. Besser then scores from Edler and Pettersson at 8:42. I mean, it was just a tap-in goal for Brock, but Brock has to be there to tap it in. So this is Brock Besser going to the perfect spot to tap the puck in and get a goal. His first ever playoff goal is scored against Minnesota, which makes sense since his first ever NHL goal was scored against, Minnesota. And where is he from? Minnesota. It's the circle of life thing. It's fantastic. So Besser, Miller, Pearson having a much better game than he had in game 1. None of the brain farts. None of the too many men on the ice stuff the Canucks were doing. None of the penalties were kind of chintzy, but there was just basically the one guy I could get mad at for it. We're getting up to that point. Tanev is guilty of a trip, which gives the Wild their 4th power play. Ferland, not on the bench. And it may be related to a shot block. So they didn't see what happened, but the guys in the production truck said to Cuthbert it may be something with a shot block. So Ferland not on the bench, which some Canuck fans may think is troubling. For me, personally, I say, you know what? Ferland only played 14 games during the year. If he's out and Gaudette has to go in, it changes the mentality for the Canucks. It changes the physicality level for the Canucks. But I'm okay with Gaudette going in. It is nice to have a team where you have the depth, where you can say, okay, Ferland's out, Gaudette goes in, we should still be okay. But it did shorten their bench. Pettersson was denied a highlight reel goal by Dumba. And actually it was Pettersson and Besser, and they combined, and Dumba takes it out. Oh, I was so close. I really thought it was going to be a goal, and I thought, oh, this is going to be beautiful. Oh, Dumba gets it out of there. Donato then broke Virtanen's stick, which got the Canucks their 4th power play, and Virtanen, smart, drops his stick and skates off. Made sure the referee knew that his stick had been broken and skates off. And so he drew a penalty on Donato. Myers then was guilty of a giveaway to Eriksson Ek, and who saved his backside? Jake Virtanen. Jake Virtanen came back and made the defensive play to prevent a goal for Minnesota, which would have been absolutely huge at that point late in the second period. It's a physical finish, and Myers takes a penalty at the buzzer. Thankfully, so did Spurgeon. So we start the third period with Myers in the penalty box, Spurgeon as well, so we start the period 4-on-4. Myers gets used to the penalty box in the third period. So the Canucks pressured. Galchenyuk takes a penalty thanks to Pettersson. Pettersson with his pressure causes Galchenyuk to have to stick him, trip him. And so that was a good moment for the Canucks. And then on that power play, Roussel took a shot to the side of the head. I don't know what it is in the Western Hub today, where we had Pullman, we had Forbert, and now we've had Roussel take pucks to the head. It's got to stop. It's kind of getting weird. And I hope he's okay. I hope he's good to go in the next game. Again, if he's not, Roussel was a guy who missed a lot of time for the Canucks with injury this year. There are players who can replace him that are on the healthy scratch list. And especially if, say, Toffoli's good to go next game, you can get Toffoli and Gaudette in. You've already got Eriksson in the lineup. Things can be okay. So I do hope, though, that he's able to come back. Pettersson then drew a slash from Hunt. So Pettersson draws another penalty. That's the 6th Canucks power play. They were 0 for 5. But they scored on the 6th. It's Bo Horvat with the beautiful tip on a shot from Hughes. They initially thought it was Hughes' goal. It was actually Horvat that tipped it. And Miller with the secondary assist, 6:22. The power play marker gives the Canucks a nice, comfortable 4-1 lead. There you go. Nice and comfortable. It's good, right? Everything's fine. Me, the Canuck fan, I'm thinking, 3-goal lead, really? Let's hope they hold it. So, Miller and Eriksson then had a 2-on-1, and Eriksson's stick decided to explode. I don't know what to say. It wasn't even a hard shot. The stick just broke. The stick just went, nope. And you could hear it say nope, and it just shattered. It just in 2 pieces. It just broke. I don't know what happened. But Louis Eriksson, bless you, because that was very entertaining and at the same time frustrating because you wanted to see him bury that. A, because it'd be nice to see Louis Eriksson get a goal, and B, because that would have made it 5-1, and then I would have breathed a sigh of relief. Myers then takes a penalty. That's the second penalty of technically of the period. I mean, he had one at the end of the second, so he starts the third in the box. And so the Wild get a power play. And then Myers leaves the penalty box and decides, I liked it in the penalty box, so he took another penalty. Like, basically right after he comes out of the box, he takes another penalty. Right after he comes out of the box. This is his 3rd penalty in a row. Fiala, though, takes a penalty. and it's 4-on-4 for 26 seconds. Kevin Fiala was very frustrated. Now, coming out of that penalty that Fiala took, Fiala channeled that energy into scoring energy, and that's where things get dangerous. The Canucks were getting chances in the slot. This is something they did not do in Game 1. They had the whole shot chart that shows you where all the shots came from, and in Game 1 there were very, very few in front of the net or close. It's the Chicago Blackhawk rule from 2009 and 2010. Old Canuck fans will know what I'm talking about. You guys know what I'm talking about. The Canucks never had a shot from right in front of Crawford or Niemi in 2009, 2010. But, and now people are going to be like, that's not the goaltenders that... I don't care. And then, basically, the Canucks are getting the chances in this game they never got in the first game, which is great. It means they're working harder to get to the front of the net, and they're able to break down that defense and get those really good chances. Hartman then went down after Pettersson shoved him. Hartman landed head first on the ice. Looked kind of ugly. And he exits the game. No penalty on Pettersson. Hartman had been going back and forth with Canucks throughout this game. They even talked about it in between periods and how Hartman has kind of a reputation around the NHL. They showed footage from when he was a Blackhawk and from when he was in Nashville and how he turtles and he fakes that he's going to fight and then he doesn't and this kind of thing. And which I didn't really agree with because I haven't seen that from Hartman this year. So I thought, you know what, playing clips from when he was with other teams, I don't really like that. That's something that I think we can get past it. But I kind of understood what they were doing, so I kind of just tried to ignore that. But I'm bringing it up here because Hartman goes down, and it kind of feels like when Matthew Perreault gets hurt for Winnipeg and Calgary have this attitude like, well, that's how you play the game like that. That's what happens. And it kind of felt like the Canucks had maybe that same experience with Hartman. So Hartman exits. Hopefully he's okay and comes back in the next game. I don't mind Hartman. I don't. I think Ryan Hartman can be useful. I think the extracurriculars, when he did that stuff back then, it didn't help anybody. Fiala would then score during a 6-on-5 from Stahl and Parisi at 17:33. Minnesota would then get a lot of play going in their favor, and the Canucks started just icing it. We'll just ice it. Just ice the puck. And I'm like, no. Get the puck. Bring it out. Don't just ice the puck. There are teams that can ice the puck 15, 20 times in the last 2 minutes, and it doesn't matter. The New York Islanders come to mind. They can just ice the puck over and over and over again because they know they're going to win the faceoff, and they know that defensively they are a brick wall. Vancouver does not have that mentality, and they don't have that ability to be that brick wall. So they kept icing the puck, and of course, the kiss of death is an announcer saying, well, we've chalked this one up in the win column. No sooner has the Sportsnet announcer said that than Fiala scores from Dumba and Stahl at 19:52. There's only 8 seconds left, right? Right? So the Canucks hold on for a 4-3 victory. It's not the convincing victory that 4-1 would have been. It's not the way you want to end a game. Kevin Bieksa said it post-game on Sportsnet. You don't want to end a game like that where you gave them the momentum. You got them back into the game. You may win, but you gave them the confidence. You want to make sure you snuff them out and you prove that you can shut them down. I don't think they did that. And Fiala now has, 17 goals in his last 20 games or something ridiculous. It is some ridiculous total for Kevin Fiala, and he legit frightens me as a Canuck fan. There was unhappiness at the end of the game where both benches emptied and they let each other know that they will not be partaking in Boston Pizza together. That's what I assume the conversation was about, because it was all garbled words, so I have no idea what they actually said, but I can assume they weren't very nice words. But Vancouver manages to win the game 4-3. Vancouver outshoots Minnesota 10-9 in the first. Both teams had 10 shots in the second. In the third, Minnesota outshoots them 16-8. Final shots 35-28 in favor of Minnesota. They can't have the start to the next game cannot resemble the end of this one. Lock it down, Vancouver. Do not give Minnesota. If Minnesota has the chance to win Game 3, this could all turn on its ear. The hits, Minnesota out-hit Vancouver 37-19. Power plays, Minnesota was 0 for 6. Vancouver was 1 for 7. You want to see the big difference between Game 1 and Game 2? Look at the penalty kill for Vancouver. That's your big difference. The power play, yes, they got a power play goal, but they also allowed the shorthanded goals, so that all nullified itself. Good game. A little too close for comfort, but it is a fun series between two teams that clearly don't like each other. And yeah, so let me know what your thoughts are regarding the game in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.